I've sold over $115 million in sales online, and Eric sold his former brick and mortar company for over $115 million. So he sought me out for some business advice on his new ventures online. Here's a quick backstory on him.
Lived a crazy life, got addicted to drugs, raised up in an environment of crime, 7 years battling addiction. From there, turned my passion for helping other addicts into a business, started my home state of New Hampshire's very first sober living house, which I then scaled to a business that was the largest provider of addiction treatment services in New England. We did $55 million of top line revenue a year, earnings over $1 million a month for a long time, until I sold it to a private equity company back in 2021 for $115 million exit. And in the meantime, I've been really interested in studying the online digital product space. And so I've built several offers around real estate here to ask questions and learn. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Eric is already a very accomplished guy, but moving into the online space, just like any business, is just a little bit different. So for me to first help him, I need full context of the entire situation so I could give him a game plan to execute. Just start at the top. So if you want to give me numbers, if it's at 0.
Let me break down. I have 3 offers. One is $2,000 course, how to invest into Section 8, business coaching and mastermind community called Inner Circle.
Yep.
$7,500 for 90 days or 20 grand for the year. The third, and the Section 8 is we actually put people in real estate. Mm-hmm. How to start a sober house. From a business standpoint, it's very similar to Airbnb arbitrage. Okay. You can rent the real estate. You put multiple beds in each bedroom. You have some rules and structure to how the house is run. You have to stay sober. They have a curfew. Sure. And then you rent the beds, not the bedrooms. You rent each individual bed to people in early recovery from addiction or alcoholism.
Got it.
Here's the offer. Startup cost of $10,000. We can teach you in 30 days or less how to start a sober house that will cash flow $5,000 a month, semi-passive income.
These are your 3 offers. What's your initial question?
What's working? Ad strategy, ROAS, middle of the funnel.
And do you want it for all these offers?
Section 8 and the sober house are priority.
It's just a very low price offer. Like, how do you sell it? Do they buy it automatically?
Evergreen webinar.
Evergreen webinar. So, I mean, it's just tough. Like, so if you're running ads to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just tough. Like, so for example, Sam Ovens, he had a $2,000 consulting course, and then I think he would get a buyer for like every $600. But I mean, he's really, 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 really good, right? He has school with Hermosi now. The hard thing with this type of offer is because it's so cheap that you can't really afford to get on the phone. So what you have to do is make a really good webinar. The easy way to understand ads is, so if this is, let's say this is Facebook and you're running ads. So, as you're spending a little bit, it's like one little dot. So it might just be here, but then you spend more and it starts like spreading out, right? So as it spreads out, the people are less ideal to buy your offer. From my experience, because I've spent tons, millions on ads, is that a lot of people will come in and say, oh, like, we'll do a different strategy and this and that. The big thing is making sure, yes, you have the right strategy, but then also understanding at scale, it just gets naturally harder because it gets wider and wider and wider. So eventually, if you're spending enough money, it's like, some guy in China who likes Pokemon who's seeing your ad. Like, he's just not who you meant to target, but he just does because it's native.
Diminishing return.
Yeah, it's not like YouTube where it's search. It's native. So it's just, they just are on IG or Instagram. And if you're giving it enough spend, it's forcing the spend. So it's just going to show it to whoever they think is going to do it. What I'm trying to say here is we can go through the strategy, but the big thing I think you should keep in mind is either A, you're going to have a lower budget and you would shoot for something like this, like $600 to $1,000, you make a little bit of profit, but as you scale, it's going to break. So you'd have to just keep it low. You'd have to be okay with that. Option number 2 is you would just spend until you broke even and then you upsell as many people as you can. That's usually what the big guys do, is when they run low price stuff or lower price, they're just breaking even or even losing 50%, and then they just upsell a shit ton on the back end. Because regardless of what ad strategy you do, you gotta keep in mind, most media buyers, when they come in the business, they're just clicking different targeting and different bid options. It's not as complex as they may try to make it sound. The big thing is going to be the strategy. So like, for example, when I say the strategy, here's how I would think about it is if you're running an ad, right? So probably they opt in and then they watch your webinar and then, there's like a purchase page. The big thing to make sure it's working is all the stuff in between. So meaning after they opt in, you can email, you can text, you can have dialers, so like a setter. So like a setter's calling every single lead trying to get them like to buy. or on the phone. You can do retargeting ads. The first thing I make sure I'm doing is like, we're emailing. Okay. So it'd be like, do you have an email campaign set up? Check. If you don't, you need to set it up. Okay. So meaning they're getting emails pushing them back to watch the webinar, right? So that's step one. Step two is then text. Do you have text pushing them back to the webinar? If you do, good. If you don't, you need to set that up. Step three is then, like you said, all your sales guys are calling, and they're either calling them to show up or they're calling and selling the $2,000 package right on the phone. One of the two, right? Either or works. It's just like, that's what you have to do. After that, you'd have retargeting ads, right? So you could have retargeting ads pushing back to the sales page. The big thing that's really made me a lot of money, it's not necessarily having like this perfect, it's having a really insane follow-up system. So what I'm saying to you is on this.
That's really what I'm interested in. That's what I meant by middle of the funnel.
The follow-up system.
Yeah.
It became very obvious fairly quickly that Eric had some holes in his follow-up system. So I started going over the different follow-up strategies on how he could tighten things up, as well as paid traffic, because that was new for him.
I'll walk you through my funnel to compare so you can see it.
Great.
So what we do typically is we'll do add to a DM like this. And then we have it set up where this DM will fire a link to an opt-in page. And I'll just write it all out.
And that makes a mess out of your DMs?
Yeah, they can see everything basically. So what happens is this. They click the ad and they go in the DM. So step one is my team will start messaging every single lead individually. Like I've on staff right now, I got 12 to 15 people. Next is inside that DM, it'll fire a link. So if you ever click one of my ads, sometimes it'll pop open and it'll be like a link to the opt-in page. So then once they come here, they opt in, we start texting them and emailing them, right? Then what happens is they can from here watch the VSL and then book a call, or if we have a conversation, they can book a call from here because the setter is doing that. Plus, as soon as they opt in, we're calling them. So right out of the gate, within like immediately, they're getting texts, emails, calls, DMs, and we're pushing to a sales call. Now, the reason this works though, part of it is because this program here is $16K. So we can afford to hire all that staff and spend all that money to get a $16K deal. The bottleneck you might run into here is if you set all that up, well, it's like, it's not worth it because you're only spending $2,000. Right? So it's like, well, fuck, I have to hire all these people to get a $2,000 purchase. In a perfect world, what I would recommend for you is either A, make a little bit of money here, but you're going to have to keep your ad spend lower. Why? Because the bigger you get in ad spend, the broader it goes. And that's where your costs will start to go down, or your revenue. And then, you go to ad agencies and they're like, yeah, like we can do this and we can do that. But like, I've just worked with a lot of people. Like end of the day, there's only so much a media buyer can do. All they're choosing is the targeting and the creative. So yes, it makes a difference. It's more the offer than anything.